Hello, BookTube. I was going to treat you to your normal 5 videos a day, even though that's utterly freakish. And how did we get to this point? And isn't that weird that I make 5 videos a day? And not only that, but you kind of sort of expect it and feel a little peevish if you don't get that. I was going to do my normal 5 videos a day. I could easily do 10 of these a day. But the errands that I ran first thing this morning for the third consecutive day took a chunk out of my available time today. In addition to that, thick, heavy clouds are rolling in. The ambient light here has been dropping and dropping and dropping. I could put on lights, but that feels a little soul-breaking to do so early in the day, and it doesn't actually help the lighting situation anyway in terms of filming videos. So I may have to do only 2 videos today. Only 2 videos. I might have to do only 2 videos today. And I'm just going down the list of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to talk to you about today. So I think the only other thing I'll do today will be just showing you some new arrivals. Not a mail haul, but some new arrivals, just in case they are of interest to you. They're all over the map in terms of release dates and whatnot. But I have a little pile of them here, and I was going to make a video like this anyway. Then I was going to move on to more Hedgehog book recommendations and another Irish stew video and a bunch of tags. It turns out that despite the fact that I smell, I have been tagged in quite a few things, all of which look interesting. I was going to do a whole bunch of that. Also a response video to somebody who poked their head up over the parapet. but all that's going to have to wait. Not only until I have a more wide open day, but also until I have better ambient light. See, this is not going to sell itself. Let's talk about some books. That'll be 2 videos that I made today where I bombard you talking about books. So the first one is a paperback reprint. This is Richard Evans, who did the great Third Reich trilogy. That is really must reading. It really, really is. The only thing that I worry about from so strongly recommending those 3 books, The Coming of the Third Reich in Power, and The Third Reich at War, the only thing I worry about is the first book, and now in 2025, the second book, are going to cause American readers to flinch. You're going to wince quite a bit. Because, as I've pointed out, but I'm not the only one, plenty of people, historians, experts, commentators, veteran readers, have pointed out that almost literally the only difference between the Third Reich in Power and America in 2025 is the proper names. Almost literally, that's the only difference. Even actual words, actual quotations. Of course, any time that any of them get in front of a microphone, they sound like Stephen Miller. Exactly like Stephen Miller, but also vermin, and et cetera, et cetera. So that might not, they are excellent works of history, but they are alive in a way that you might find unsettling. But Richard Evans recently did a book called Hitler's People, and I got the trade paperback, which doesn't usually happen. A nice floppy trade paperback from, who did this? Penguin. And I checked. I don't think that I reviewed this, and I don't think that David Murphy did. I'm not remembering exactly, but I don't think either one of us wrote about this, so we're not blurbed on here. But this is about all the people around Hitler. And it's very good. Of course, Richard Evans is really good. I noticed some problems with it when I read it in Galley. There weren't really problems with the book, so much as the superstructure of mainstream publishing, the editing. There are many places throughout this book where Evans will say, let's say at the beginning of a long paragraph, he will say that so-and-so was very fond of singing and in fact had an excellent singing voice. And then at the end of that paragraph, he will write, and this is good because so-and-so was very fond of singing and had an excellent singing voice. Just a simple repetition, obviously a mistake. And something that an editor should have caught. There should be someone reading manuscripts to catch things like that. Because an author gets into a flow, they don't always catch it. And sometimes, even when they're doing their own edits, they literally can't see it. And I noticed that quite a few of those got through in this. But it's still absolutely excellent. Let's read a bit from it. Richard Evans, the author of the acclaimed Third Reich trilogy and more than a dozen other volumes on modern Europe, is our preeminent scholar of Nazi Germany. Having spent half a century searching for the truth behind one of the most horrifying episodes in human history, in this book he brings us back to the original site of the Nazi movement, namely the lives of its most important and representative members. And here we get all of Leni Riefenstahl, Goebbels, Fritz von Papen. We get all the names that circle Hitler. It's really, really good. So very happy to have the trade paperback, since I don't think I have any copy of it anymore. Pretty sure I gave David Murphy the finished copy, and I don't think I kept the galley. So that's one thing. We'll just go through a few of these, and then we'll be done. And then that'll be it for our video visits today. I got this little thing by Tom Racine. Really still don't know what to make of this. This is called Doomed to Die, and it's an A to Z guide to death in Tolkien. Tiny little thing that is really meant to be, the publishing material says that it is Tolkien meets Edward Gorey, and that is really what it's like. It will remind you of that, because you get one illustration per page with a line, and the lines rhyme. So you get... let's see here. For M is for Morgoth, shackled in a chain. There he's being thrown through the doors of night. And then you have N is for Nimrodel, tears flowing like rain. So I don't know what this is. It certainly can't be reviewed. It's a neat little thing. What I really want is to send this to some utter Tolkien fanatic who will want this even though it's a trifle, because they want everything Tolkien related, even the trifles. That's what I really want to do. So who should I send this to? that's the question. But I don't have a date on it, but it's a neat little stocking stuffer. If, for instance, you know someone who's a dyed-in-the-wool Tolkien fan, well, they know the literature backwards and forwards, and they have a lot of different variations on it. So you would be justifiably nervous in trying to get them a Tolkien-related present. Well, here you go. This is something they're almost certainly not going to get for themselves, but they might like it. Let's see here. Then we have this thing. This came to me already with a notation on the cover. This is Andrew Miller's new book, The Land in Winter, with the Booker Prize long list for 2025 on the cover. That is not a sticker. That is printed on the cover. So you can't get rid of that. Very bad idea. A very bad idea on the part of the publisher, but... and this, what do we got here? Okay, very nice letter from the publicist. That's good. Andrew doesn't waste a sentence. I agree. This author doesn't tend to do that. So what have we got here? December 1962. In a village deep in the English countryside, two neighboring couples begin the day. Local Dr. Eric Parry commences his rounds in the village while his pregnant wife, Irene, wanders the rooms of their old house, mulling over the space that has grown between the two of them. On the farm nearby lives Irene's mirror image. Witty but troubled Rita Simmons is also expecting. She spends her days trying on the idea of being a farmer's wife, but her head still swims with images of a raucous past that her husband, Bill, prefers to forget. Now, keep in mind, in 1962, in the English countryside, neither one of these women could divorce their husbands. Their husbands could divorce them, but they couldn't divorce their husbands. When Rita and Irene meet across the bare field between their houses, a clock starts. There is a still affection in both their homes. Neither marriage has yet to be abandoned. But when the ordinary cold of a December gives way, ushering in violent blizzards of the harshest winter in living memory, so do the secrets, resentments harbored in all four lives. That makes me curious. In a just a quirky way, that makes me curious about whether or not the winter of '62 was really harsh in England, was really unprecedentedly ferocious. That's just the way my mind works. But of course, this has been lauded. A lot of people that I have been watching on YouTube and on Instagram, and actually on Reddit too. I don't spend all time on Reddit with my muscular incels. I do look at the literary community on Reddit as well. A lot of people have I won't call it a fetish, but a fun game that they do where they really concentrate on the Booker Prize. They will read the long list. They will reread the short list. They will make elaborate handicap predictions of who's going to win. I think that's wonderful. I'm always charmed by people like that because they're so involved in their prize, and that is just great. And I have noticed in those kinds of discussions that a lot of people are pointing out that this is remarkably good as even a Booker long listed book that really stands out for them. So I'm looking forward to reading it. It's in hardcover, so I'm assuming it's out already in this country. Then we have, let's see here. This thing comes out in March, so I will not be reading this this year. This is from the Belknap Press of Harvard University Press. This is David Stutter's book, Hubris, Pericles, the Parthenon, and the Invention of Athens. Look at that. So what have we got here? The age of Pericles in the 5th century BC is often described as the golden age of Athens. The city witnessed a flowering of philosophy, art, and architecture, including an ambitious building program with the Parthenon as its centerpiece. Yet, as the author shows in this vivid account, the seemingly triumphant city was in fact riven by conflict and contradiction. Though nominally a democracy, Athens led a tyrannical empire, and for Pericles and his circle, the Parthenon was less a holy place than a propaganda vehicle. Its sculptures carried the message that Athenians, beloved by the gods, were nearly divine in their own right, which to many Greeks smacked of hubris. And those of you who maybe aren't up on your literary terms, hubris is the idea not just of self-esteem or even pride, but of overweening pride that brings on the wrath of the gods. As long as things went well, Athenian democracy appeared to prosper, but just a year after the Parthenon was finished, Athens went to war with Sparta. A plague killed a third of the population, including Pericles, and earthquakes razed much of the city. In the wake of what seemed like divine retribution, popular outrage against those accused of undermining state religion was so strong that it took the execution of Socrates to lance the boil. And this book offers a dramatic portrait of key figures like Phaedrus, who sculpted the monumental statues of Athena and yet fell prey to charges of impiety, Themistocles, who built the Athenian navy but died in exile in enemy lands, and Alcibiades, the psychopathic playboy. You're going to call him a psychopath? What on earth? The psychopathic playboy whose mercurial ego hastened his city's defeat. This guy's no Alcibiades fan. That's fantastic. Well, that's great. So that's coming up next year. So you can know, if you're interested in this subject, if you're interested in Periclean Athens, you want to get this ordered from your library, definitely get them on it. Let them know this is coming out in March and that they have at least one patron who's interested. I'm always curious when I get things like this, if they are canaries in the coal mine, the first pebble of an avalanche. I always wonder, so does this mean that 2026 is going to be a year of ancient Greece? Lots of books on ancient Greece, lots of different studies, also lots of finds in the used book world on ancient Greece. Is somehow the zeitgeist going to shift my reading focus to ancient Greece, where it has not been in probably 20 years? Always interested in that. And then we have another advanced copy. This is also March. Do you have a? Oh, you do. You have a sheet. Does Hubris have a sheet? I don't think I noticed one. No, Hubris is heavily illustrated. That's nice. But this book has a sheet too, so I can read something to you. So this comes out, in late March. This is by Ian Baruma, and this is his new book, Stay Alive, Berlin, 1939 to 1945. Ordinarily, I'm not much for the faded sepia tone or black and white photos on works of history. They seem to underscore the popular idea that nonfiction, history especially, is boring. But that is a pretty good one. That is pretty good. So this is going to be, it sounds like, a civilian's history of World War II in Germany. Let's see here. Bard college professor Ian Baruma brings to light an astonishing account of life under a murderous regime amid a city's great descent into utter annihilation. This is essential reading for understanding what everyday life looked like during that horrific period. The book opens in 1939, and Berlin, a city known for its artistic sophistication and sexual freedom, has been under Nazi rule for 6 years, where its 4.3 million residents have made their accommodations to the regime more or less. When war broke out with Poland in September, what was most striking at first was how little changed. People continued to play sports, went to the movies, dined in restaurants, and danced. That is, of course, unless you were Jewish. Then, life already hard and shaped by anti-Semitism would quickly become an existential fight. The author gives tender but unflinching attention to the Jewish experience in Berlin during the war, weaving its thread into the broader fabric of this vivid mosaic of urban life turned upside down. He delves into a vast trove of primary sources, including a number of interviews with living survivors. So that'll be unique to this book. In doing so, this book emerges as a study in extremes: depravity and resilience, moral blindness and moral courage, pious bigotry, and unchecked hedonism in the face of starvation and disease. By 1943, the German defeat at Stalingrad, ordinary life in Berlin would acquire an increasingly desperate cast. The last 3 years of the war in Berlin are truly a descent into hell, with a deranged regime in free fall, a relentless pounding from Allied bombers, and the mounting dread of the approaching Soviet army. Okay. There aren't many books that focus on these critical years in Berlin. Oh, there have been 20 in the last 20 years. The author wanted to know more about life during this period and proves that by studying the motives of these people, we can better understand why history repeats itself as we see in Eastern Europe and the U.S. today. Okay, well, this comes out in late March, so although it's right up my alley, same thing with the Pericles in Athens book, I won't be reading either one of them, but really nice to be getting serious works of history from mainstream publishers. That's really good. Let's hope that 2026 is a great big year for serious histories from mainstream publishers. That would be wonderful. So there you go. You got Berlin during the war. You got Pericles in Athens with a slightly jaundiced view. You have The Land in Winter by Andrew Miller. Doomed to Die, this little Tolkien meets Edward Gorey type handbook here, and the trade paperback of Hitler's People. Very much worth your time, and now out in a $22? A $24 paperback. So there you go. Some new arrivals here, and that's going to have to be it for videos today, I'm afraid, because I don't know if you noticed, but I'm almost out of light here, and it's early in the day. So I'm going to batten down the hatches. It looks like we might be getting rain, but light will come. Time will come. I am not going to be doing errands tomorrow. Not a chance in all of creation. I will not be doing errands tomorrow. So I'll have more time for you, my Ukrainian sex bots. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.